What happens when one of Britain's most controversial media figures goes head-to-head with a prince who's burned every bridge back to the royal family? What unfolds when years of simmering resentment finally boil over in front of millions of viewers? You won't believe the explosive confrontation that erupted last night on Piers Morgan Uncensored, leaving one guest storming off set and the other declaring he'd had enough of the lies and manipulation. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds when Prince Harry thought he could waltz onto Piers Morgan's show and control the narrative one more time. The tension was palpable from the moment Prince Harry walked onto the set of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Morgan, never one to shy away from confrontation, had that familiar glint in his eye. The same look he gets right before he destroys someone's carefully constructed public image. Harry, meanwhile, carried himself with that particular brand of entitled confidence that only comes from a lifetime of palace protection and recent years of American media coddling. "Your Royal Highness," Morgan began with barely concealed sarcasm. "Or should I say, just Harry. I'm never quite sure what title you prefer these days, given how much you've distanced yourself from the institution that gave you everything." Harry's jaw tightened visibly, but he maintained his composure. "I think Harry works just fine, Piers. And I haven't distanced myself from anything. I've simply chosen to speak my truth and protect my family from an institution that showed it had no interest in protecting us." "Ah yes, your truth." Morgan leaned back in his chair, his voice dripping with disdain. "That's become quite the catchphrase for you, hasn't it? Your truth about your father, your truth about your brother, your truth about your grandmother. Tell me, Harry, in all these truths you've been sharing with Oprah and Netflix and in your book, did it ever occur to you that there might be other people's truths that matter too?" The studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the gentle softball interview Harry had clearly expected. Morgan was going for blood from the very first exchange, and everyone could sense it. "Look, Piers," Harry said, his voice taking on that slightly strained quality it gets when he's trying to maintain control. "I've been consistent from the beginning. I've never attacked my family personally. I've talked about the institution, the system, the way things work behind closed doors. There's a difference." Morgan let out a harsh laugh that echoed through the studio. "Never attacked your family personally? Are you having a laugh? You accused your father of cutting you off financially, a man who gave you millions over the years. You implied your brother physically attacked you. You suggested your stepmother was manipulating the press. And don't even get me started on what you put your grandmother through in her final years. That's not what I said. And you know it." Harry's voice was rising now, his carefully maintained royal composure beginning to crack. "You're twisting my words, just like the British press always does. Just like you've always done." "Oh, here we go," Morgan said, spreading his arms wide in theatrical exasperation. "It's always someone else's fault, isn't it, Harry? The press, the institution, the courtiers, your family, everyone except you. You're always the victim in your own story." Harry's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "I'm not playing victim, Piers. I'm telling people what actually happened. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but someone needs to call out the hypocrisy and the lies." "The lies?" Morgan's voice turned razor sharp. "Let's talk about lies, shall we? You and your wife told Oprah that you were married 3 days before your actual wedding. That was a lie. You claimed you were cut off financially when your father continued supporting you. That was a lie. You suggested the royal family was concerned about your son's skin color, then later had to backtrack and say it wasn't the Queen or Prince Philip. How many more lies should we go through?" The audience was dead silent now, hanging on every word. Harry's face was flushed, his breathing slightly elevated. Those weren't lies, they were misunderstandings, or things taken out of context. And the racism issue, that's real, Piers. Just because you don't want to acknowledge it doesn't mean it didn't happen. "Misunderstandings?" Morgan's voice was incredulous. "Harry, you went on the most watched interview in years and made claims that weren't true. You damaged your family's reputation, caused your grandmother immense stress in her final years. And now you want to call them misunderstandings?" "My grandmother loved me," Harry said, his voice cracking slightly. "She understood what I was going through. She knew the pressures, the impossible situation I was in." "Did she?" Morgan leaned forward, his voice dropping to an almost whisper. "Because from what I hear, she was devastated by your actions. Absolutely devastated. And she died still hoping you'd come to your senses and stop this relentless campaign against your own family. Harry shot up from his chair, his face now fully flushed with anger. Don't you dare use my grandmother's memory to make your points, Piers. Don't you fucking dare. The swear word hung in the air like a bomb had gone off. Morgan's eyes lit up. He had Harry exactly where he wanted him, completely off balance and losing control. Oh, so now we're getting to the real Harry, are we? Morgan said with obvious satisfaction. The angry, entitled prince who can't handle it when someone actually challenges his narrative. This is what happens when you step outside your carefully controlled media bubble, isn't it? When someone actually asks you tough questions instead of throwing you softball after softball. Harry was pacing now, clearly agitated. You call this journalism? This is nothing but a hit job. You've had it out for me and my wife from the beginning. You couldn't handle the fact that she rejected you, so you've spent years attacking us both. Morgan's face darkened at the mention of Meghan. Don't flatter yourself, Harry, and don't bring your wife into this as some kind of shield. This is about you, your choices, your actions, your betrayal of everything your family stands for. Betrayal? Harry spun around to face Morgan directly. The betrayal was theirs, Piers. They betrayed me, they betrayed my wife, they betrayed our children. They chose the institution over family, protocol over protection. And you know what? I'm done pretending otherwise. The tension in the studio was now so thick you could cut it with a knife. Morgan sensed he had pushed Harry to a breaking point. But he wasn't finished. He was preparing to deliver what he knew would be the final blow that would send the prince completely over the edge. But what came next would shock even Morgan himself. As Harry prepared to reveal something that would change the entire dynamic of their confrontation, Harry stopped pacing abruptly, turning to face Morgan with a look of cold determination that hadn't been there before. The studio fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the hum of the cameras still rolling. Something had shifted in Harry's demeanor. The frantic energy was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. You want to talk about lies, Piers? Harry's voice was now eerily calm, almost whisper. Quiet. You want to talk about betrayal? Let me tell you about real betrayal. Let me tell you about the phone call I received 2 hours before my grandmother's funeral. Morgan's confident smirk faltered slightly. This wasn't the direction he had expected the conversation to take. What phone call? The one from my father, Harry continued, his eyes never leaving Morgan's face. The one where he told me that if I said one word, just one fucking word, during the funeral service that wasn't pre-approved, I would be escorted out by security. At my own grandmother's funeral, the audience gasped audibly. Even Morgan, master of television drama, looked genuinely taken aback. That's quite an accusation, Harry. Is it an accusation when it's exactly what happened? Harry's voice was getting louder again, but this time it was controlled anger, focused and precise. You sit there talking about respect for my grandmother, about family loyalty, but where was that loyalty when they threatened to have me physically removed from saying goodbye to the woman who raised me? Morgan leaned back in his chair, clearly recalibrating his approach. Harry, if that's true, then... If? Harry cut him off sharply. If it's true, you want proof, Piers? I've got the recording. The studio erupted. Producers in the control room were frantically signaling to each other. Morgan's face went pale. This was live television at its most explosive and most dangerous. You recorded a private conversation with your father? Morgan's voice was barely controlled now. Damn right I did, Harry said, pulling out his phone. After years of them lying about what was said behind closed doors, after years of briefings and counter-briefings and planted stories, you're fucking right I started recording conversations, especially the important ones. Harry, I don't think... Morgan started, but Harry was beyond listening now. No, you wanted the truth, Piers. You've spent years demanding the truth from me. Well, here at Island. Harry's finger hovered over his phone screen. Should I play it for your viewers? Should they hear exactly what the future King of England said to his son 2 hours before burying his mother? The tension in the studio was suffocating. Morgan was clearly out of his depth now, facing the possibility of a genuine constitutional crisis playing out live on his show. Harry, think about what you're doing. Think about the implications. The implications? Harry let out a bitter laugh. The implications of showing the world who they really are? The implications of proving that everything I've said about the cold, calculating nature of that institution is true? You think I give a shit about implications anymore? Morgan was sweating now, his usual composure completely shattered. Look, whatever issues you have with your family, this isn't the way to. Don't you dare lecture me about family, Harry roared, slamming his hand down on the arm of his chair. Don't you fucking dare. You've spent years attacking my wife, attacking our children, questioning our motives, our integrity, our right to speak our truth. And now, when I'm offering to give you exactly what you've always claimed you wanted, the real story, with actual proof, you're backing down? The studio audience was completely silent, transfixed by the spectacle unfolding before them. This had gone far beyond a typical celebrity interview meltdown. This was a member of the royal family threatening to expose private conversations that could potentially bring down the monarchy itself. Morgan tried desperately to regain control. Harry, as a journalist, of course I want the truth. But there are proper channels. Proper ways to. Proper channels? Harry's laugh was harsh and cold. You mean like when I tried to address things privately for years? When I begged them to protect my wife from the racist coverage? When I asked them to correct the lies being printed about us? Those proper channels. I understand your frustration, but no, you don't understand shit, Piers. Harry was on his feet again, phone still in hand. You understand ratings. You understand controversy. You understand how to destroy people for entertainment. But you don't understand what it's like to watch the people who are supposed to love you orchestrate your destruction. Morgan was clearly panicking now, glancing repeatedly at his producers off camera. Harry, let's take a moment to. Take a moment? Harry's voice was incredulous. I've been taking moments for 4 fucking years. Moments to be diplomatic, moments to be respectful, moments to protect an institution that never protected me or my family. Well, I'm done taking moments. The prince's finger moved closer to his phone screen. You want to know what King Charles really thinks about his son? About his daughter-in-law? About his mixed-race grandchildren? Because I can show you exactly what he said when he thought no one was listening. Harry, please. Morgan's voice was almost pleading now. Think about your children. Think about what this could do to them. My children? Harry's face contorted with rage. You're going to lecture me about my children? After years of the press, you're part of publishing lies about them, questioning their place in the succession, making racist comments about their heritage. You're worried about my children now? The audience was completely mesmerized. Some were filming on their phones despite security's attempts to stop them. This was the kind of television moment that would be replayed for decades, assuming it didn't bring down the British monarchy first. Morgan made one last desperate attempt to control the situation. Harry, I know you're angry. I know you feel wronged. But destroying your family publicly won't bring you peace. It won't. Peace? Harry cut him off with a savage laugh. You think I came here for peace? You think, after everything they've done, everything they've put us through, that I'm looking for peace? No, Piers. I came here for justice. And if I have to burn it all down to get it, then that's exactly what I'll do. Harry's thumb moved toward the play button on his phone screen, and for a moment, it seemed like he might actually do it, might actually play a private recording of King Charles that could change British history forever. But just as he was about to press play, something happened that would escalate this confrontation to an entirely new level of chaos. Morgan's phone started buzzing frantically on his desk. Then, another phone. Then his producer's voice came crackling through his earpiece, barely audible but clearly panicked. Harry paused, his thumb still hovering over the play button, sensing something was happening behind the scenes. What's going on, Piers? Harry demanded, noticing Morgan's sudden distraction. Getting cold feet about the truth coming out? Morgan held up a finger, pressing his earpiece closer. His face went from pale to absolutely ashen as he listened to whatever his producer was telling him. The color drained from his cheeks completely. You've got to be fucking kidding me, Morgan whispered, momentarily forgetting he was live on air. What? Harry snapped, his patience finally completely exhausted. What's happening? Morgan looked up at Harry with an expression somewhere between horror and disbelief. Your father, King Charles, he's just issued a statement about you, about this interview. It went out 60 seconds ago. Harry's confident demeanor faltered for the first time since he'd revealed the recording. What kind of statement? Morgan was reading something off his phone, his hands visibly shaking. It says that any recordings made by Prince Harry of private family conversations were made without consent and constitute a serious breach of privacy. It also says, Morgan paused, clearly struggling with what he was reading. It says what, Piers? Harry's voice was dangerously quiet now. It says that if you play any such recordings publicly, you will be formally stripped of all remaining titles and removed from the line of succession permanently. Not just you, your children too. The studio fell into absolute silence. Harry stood frozen, his phone still in his hand, the weight of his father's ultimatum hitting him like a physical blow. For a moment, the prince who had been so ready to burn everything down looked like a lost child. He's bluffing, Harry said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. Is he? Morgan was regaining some of his composure, sensing the shift in momentum. Because I've got 3 other sources now confirming that Buckingham Palace has prepared formal documents. They're ready to go, Harry. Your father just declared war on you, live on television. Harry's hand began to tremble slightly as he held the phone. My children had nothing to do with this. They're innocent, are they? Morgan's voice was getting stronger, more accusatory. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you just used them as human shields while you threatened to destroy the monarchy. You were willing to sacrifice everything, including their future, for your moment of revenge. That's not, Harry started, but the words died in his throat. The reality of the situation was clearly hitting him. His moment of triumph was crumbling before his eyes. You know what I think, Harry? Morgan was fully back in control now, sensing his prey was wounded. I think you never intended to play that recording. I think this was all theater, all manipulation, all designed to get sympathy and attention. Because if you really had something that damaging, you would have used it already. You're wrong, Harry said, but his voice was weak now. Am I? Then play it. Go ahead. Press that button. Destroy your father, destroy the monarchy, and destroy your children's future in the process. Show us all what kind of man you really are. Harry stared down at his phone, his finger still poised over the screen. The studio was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Millions of viewers around the world were watching, waiting to see if a prince would actually detonate a nuclear bomb in his own family. But as the seconds ticked by, it became clear that Harry couldn't do it. His hand was shaking more visibly now, and when he looked up from the phone, there were tears in his eyes. I can't, he whispered. I can't do that to them. Morgan leaned forward like a shark smelling blood in the water. Can't do what, Harry? Can't follow through on your threats? Can't actually back up all your big talk with action? Or can't bring yourself to hurt innocent children to get your revenge? Harry's composure finally shattered completely. The tears were flowing freely now, as the full weight of his situation crashed down on him. You don't understand. None of you understand what it's like to love people who are destroying you. Oh, I understand perfectly, Morgan said with cold satisfaction. You're a spoiled, entitled prince who thought he could have his cake and eat it too. You wanted to keep all the benefits of being royal, while attacking the very institution that gave you everything. And now, when it's time to put up or shut up, you don't have the balls to follow through. Fuck you, Piers, Harry said through his tears, but the fight had gone out of him. Fuck all of you. Morgan wasn't finished twisting the knife. You know what the real tragedy is, Harry? You actually had people's sympathy. People understood that the press treatment of your wife was harsh, that the system isn't perfect. But instead of using that goodwill to create positive change, you threw it all away for book deals and Netflix contracts and revenge fantasies. Harry wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, looking more broken than angry now. I tried to do it the right way. I tried to work within the system. Did you? Or did you decide from the moment you married Meghan that you were going to cash in on your royal status while simultaneously destroying it? Because that's what it looks like from here. Harry stood up slowly, putting his phone back in his pocket without playing the recording. The gesture was symbolic. His nuclear option was being tucked away unused. His moment of potential victory transformed into humiliating defeat. This interview is over, Harry said quietly. No, Harry, it's not over until I say it's over, Morgan shot back. You came on my show with your threats and your recordings and your demands for respect. You don't get to just walk away when things don't go your way. But Harry was already moving toward the edge of the set, his security detail stepping forward to surround him. Actually, Piers, I can walk away. That's the one thing I learned how to do. Walk away from toxicity. Even when people tell me I don't have the right to. Running away, you mean? Morgan called after him. Just like you've been running away from everything difficult your entire life. Harry paused at the edge of the set and turned back one final time. His face was streaked with tears, but there was something almost peaceful in his expression now, as if making the decision not to use the recording had lifted a weight off his shoulders. You know what, Piers? You're right about one thing. I am walking away. But not because I'm weak or because I'm running from a fight. I'm walking away because I finally understand that some battles aren't worth winning if they destroy everything you love in the process. With that, Prince Harry walked off the set of Piers Morgan Uncensored, leaving behind the most explosive television interview in recent memory. Morgan sat in his chair, looking simultaneously triumphant and somehow hollow, as if winning this particular battle had cost him something too. The cameras continued rolling as Morgan faced his audience alone, the empty chair beside him serving as a monument to how quickly power can shift, how even princes can fall, and how sometimes the most dramatic moments on television are the ones where nothing happens at all. The interview was over, but the consequences would reverberate for years to come.